Hello everyone, my name is Azadeh Hadian. Welcome to the SaaS Security webinar series. In today's session, we will talk about SaaS Security API policy rules and incident management. We will also talk about data patterns and data profiles. In the Introduction to SaaS Security API and Best Practices webinar, we reviewed policy rules and some of the best practices. Today, we will talk a little more about it to refresh our memory and get more details before moving to the incident management section. SaaS Security API provides a policy-driven analysis for sanctioned applications. It detects security issues in the environment and helps with remediating them proactively. You can monitor and enforce responsible use of assets in your company and proactively protect assets against different kinds of security issues, including human errors. These are all possible by generating alerts and incidents and notifying the user, and at the same time by automatically remediating risks. Predefined out-of-the-box policies are automatically applied after adding a cloud app. They are defined based on security policy best practices. They are designed to discover commonly known sensitive content. Policy rule types include asset rules, user activity rules, group rules, security control rules, third-party app rules, and wildfire analysis rules. We will talk about each of these policies in more depth. Asset rules are about data management and governance, making sure of the integrity and security of data in the enterprise. The asset rules are designed to focus on both assets and user access to the assets and user activity visibility. We monitor asset content, looking for sensitive data, asset type, and asset location. We also monitor users' access, level of visibility, and exposure, and the activities performed on the asset. SaaS Security API supports about 100 file types. This list only shows the most commonly used files. Of course, this list is changing as we add more support for other file types. User activity rules identify unusual user behaviors, such as excessive download or export of SaaS application assets. The default action is generating a log, but we can also enable sending email alerts. To be proactive, use different dashboards, specifically the policy violation dashboards. Some of the match criteria for user activity rules are the activity threshold, the user who performs the activity, country, and IP address of the location. The group-based policy is specific to Azure Active Directory and requires Azure Active Directory integration. It allows the creation of policies based on user groups and applies policies to asset rules and require the asset owner's group as match criteria. Security control rules focus on monitoring email activity in SaaS application and configuration in iOS applications. A security policy rule is different from user activity rules because they only focus on administrators of SaaS applications. The default action for a security control rule is to generate a log for a discovered violation. You can see security control logs in the Explore Security Control panel. You can set different setting and configurations for monitoring different activity and alerting administrators or automatically logging incidents. Third-party app rules. Third-party apps are another source of concern for enterprises. Even if they are legitimate, They may be poorly written and introduce vulnerabilities, leading to security gaps. Third-party app rules detect non-compliance third-party applications and provide remediation for risks. You can view risks related to third-party apps in Explore Third-Party Apps panel. One example of a third-party app policy can be blocking access to a third-party app from a malicious address and email user who try to install the app. Current support is the discovery of third-party apps using G Suite Marketplace. By default, SaaS Security API categorizes all newly discovered apps as unclassified. Then after an administrator assesses the app, it can change it to blocked, approved, restricted, or unclassified. SaaS Security API integrates with Wildfire service and leverages its service to detect known and unknown malware. SaaS Security API has a predefined policy rule to integrate and use the Wildfire service. The Wildfire analysis rules can notify the user about malware on the endpoints. It executes actions such as block, permit, and log events. It can submit unknown files for Wildfire analysis. The result of this analysis determines the Wildfire verdict for a file. Based on that, it can quarantine malicious files, blocks unknown files where there is no Wildfire verdict, or block unknown files when the endpoint security manager is not reachable. Now let's review the general considerations about the corporate security posture. Before adding a cloud app, you need to have a good understanding of your company's security rules, which includes the type of assets, sensitive data, and user activities. You need to study SaaS Security API policy rules and understand what they do before enabling them. If you want to understand your company's security posture, you can enable all policies at once, but then you might be overwhelmed with a large number of incidents. You can also enable policies one by one. Start with the policies related to your most important security concerns and focus on resolving those issues first. Let's talk about policy best practices. The Wildfire default policy is crucial for enterprise. We should check this setting regularly, making sure all file types are included as Wildfire continues to add support for more file types. Untrusted user policies need to be updated with the list of untrusted users and untrusted domains. Customizing pre-default out of the box or creating a custom one from scratch that fits your specific needs is always a good practice. Also, enabling default data patterns and disabling duplicate policy. In this section, we talk about incident and incident management. Incidents are generated when SaaS security finds non-compliance with policy rules. Note that an incident is not the same as a data violation. An incident is triggered based on a policy violation, but a data violation is triggered by active data profiles. You don't necessarily need to create any asset policy rule to detect data violations. You only need to enable them. As soon as you enable a data profile, you can review and assess them in the Explore Data Violation panel. And then you can include the data profile as a condition in an asset policy rule, and you will have more visibility and control. Now, whenever you create a policy from scratch or customize an existing one, you must enable generating an incident in order to see an incident in the SaaS Security API incident dashboard. Then you can assess and resolve them. When an incident is created, it is automatically in the new state. It needs to be reviewed and assessed. Then it can be assigned to an admin, in which the state will change to assign. When the incident is under investigation, the state can be changed to in progress. While the work is in progress, if some actions are required to complete the investigation, we can set the state to pending. When you decide to close an incident, you can set the reason to no reason, which means you could not find any reason why this incident was open in the first place, or there is a business justification and it's okay to close it. For example, the asset owner's job responsibilities justify the behavior that triggered the policy rule. Another reason could be the policy rule finds a match that is very similar to the data pattern defined in the policy rule, but it is not sensitive data and is misidentified as a data pattern. In this case, we can set the reason to misidentified. In cases when an asset changes and policy violation no longer exists because of the change, SaaS Security API closes the incidents and changes the state to in the cloud. In the cloud, state cannot be assigned manually when a user closes an incident or wants to change the state of an incident. So when you see this, you know that the incidents are closed automatically by SaaS Security API. Another state that cannot be manually assigned is when an asset is quarantined during the automatic remediation. The state will change to aperture, which is what SaaS Security API was named originally. What is fine-tuning a policy? We mentioned that SaaS Security API comes with a set of predefined policy rules. There are 6 predefined data patterns which automatically applied when it scans assets. These include data patterns to match data related to PII, intellectual property, finance, healthcare data, legal, and malware. You can fine-tune these policies and other predefined ones after enabling them to match your specific needs. You can modify an existing policy, disable one, create a custom policy from scratch, or copy an existing one and make changes. Let's quickly review remediation options. This topic should be familiar to you as we had discussed it briefly before in one of our webinars. We will have a session to go deeper into this topic in future. There are options to remediate the risk, such as quarantining the asset, changing the sharing, and notifying the owner. We also have an option to use a machine account to send notification to the owner instead of an admin account. We can send an admin alert or create an incident. Note that available actions for manual remediation are not the same as automatic remediation and also depend on the cloud app. We can do manual remediation or automatic remediation or a combination of both. We recommend always using automatic remediation when possible because it reduces the workload for your team. Assign incidents to subject matter experts and different teams. Always, and I want to emphasize again, always enable wildfire rules. Make sure you select all file types. Review the policies regularly, especially if there is an unmanageable number of incidents. Never let this number go up to the point that you cannot manage them. This table shows remediation options for different cloud apps. In this section, we talk about SaaS Security API, data patterns, and data profiles. Palo Alto Networks is replacing the DLP Classic. All customers' tenants will receive SaaS Security DLP automatically, and no action is required from customers. We will talk about the differences in the next slide. SaaS Security DLP Classic support about 40 plus predefined data patterns in 6 different categories. It doesn't have support for data profiles. SaaS Security DLP and DLP Enterprise support more data patterns and support data profiles. They provide a large selection of data patterns to protect organizations' data. In addition, they support advanced Boolean operators, pattern cloning, dashboard widget, and filters. It supports combining data patterns, multiple confidence level, proximity analysis, and unified DLP classification. The unified DLP classification capability of SaaS Security DLP automatically sync all data patterns and data profiles to other platforms in one account. These data patterns and profiles become shared resources across SaaS Security and all other platforms. This table shows the differences we discussed. As you can see, SaaS Security with Enterprise DLP supports more than 1,000 data patterns and over 20 data profiles. We talked about 6 predefined data patterns that apply automatically when SaaS Security scans the assets. We can create custom data patterns. We can create a file property data patterns to match file metadata. We can combine different data patterns and create a data profile and use it in the policies. A data profile is a collection of data patterns. It can consist of up to 50 data patterns. The main purpose of data profiles is to provide a better way of managing data patterns when building policies. Data profiles provide precision and efficiency by combining several data patterns in one single query. They provide capabilities such as applying occurrence level and confidence scoring to represent risks, enforcing custom data profiles and data patterns across all applications, and the ability to exclude data patterns for better fine-tuning policies. All of these help with making policy changes much easier. Basic data profiles provide simple Boolean operators and allow the use of one of these operators in a single data profile. The advanced one provides more granular Boolean logic, and it also includes the NOT operator. This concludes today's session. We now have our question and answer session. Thank you everyone for attending.